All right, John. This is our last video.
Yep.
We've given them everything they ever need to know about writing an essay.
Exactly.
Except for the last thing. You've been a lecturer for quite some time.
Mm-hmm.
You've marked many essays.
Yep.
What are the pitfalls?
I thought you were going to say you've made lots of mistakes. What are your worst mistakes, John?
We can go over that in the next video.
Okay. So a few pitfalls. Things to avoid. So one is arguing against a straw man. So building some imaginary opponent who actually doesn't really exist, who inevitably has very weak arguments without any evidence. Destroying that straw man is no achievement at all.
Yeah.
So obviously means engage with real people and find the best case of the position you want to disagree with.
It kind of goes back to our earlier video where we talked about finding somebody to actually talk to.
That's right.
Finding that interlocutor.
Right. So, saying, well, Arminians clearly haven't read Romans 9 to 11, and therefore they're wrong. Well, actually, Arminians have read Romans 9 to 11. You need to go.
I don't think it's actually in their Bible.
You need to go and find what an Arminian says, and how would they understand it. So, not the straw man would be one.
Yeah. Okay.
Another one?
I think that oftentimes I love the introduction that starts out, since the dawn of time, everybody has always believed. Or you get, or the other introduction where it's like, this essay is on the Trinity, so let me explain what the Trinity is. It's on, or probably not the Trinity so much as like it's on the Westminster Confession of Faith. So let me write out the entire history of the Westminster Confession of Faith.
Right. Yep.
So I'm going to use 1,000 of my words in my 2,000 word essay to give you the historical background.
I must say I've read a lot of essays about Calvin that started by telling me that he was born in 1509.
There you go.
A fact that doesn't normally end up being terribly relevant in the rest of the discussion.
Yes, so I think those types of essays where you start out the essay and you walk away going like, why did you need to give me all this information?
Right.
It's just you're just wasting words here.
So put in any information that's relevant to your argument needs to be there.
Yeah.
But other information that may be broadly related to the topic, but you're not using in your argument, cut it out.
Yep. It's often what you don't say that's important.
Yeah.
As we've heard recently. So, okay. What anything else from you?
Well, so another one would be making sure. So I'll put it negatively. The pitfall is using words that you don't understand, especially technical terms, perichoresis or divine simplicity or hypostatic union or infralapsarianism or those technical terms. If you're going to use them, and you should use them, but make sure you know what they mean, because I sometimes read essays and think, I don't think that word means what you think it means.
Yeah, I mean, so the implications of the hypostatic union on the extra Calvinisticum point us to an infralapsarian understanding of millenarianism.
I followed the first bit. Exactly. And I mean, there is a place for technical vocabulary. We should use it. But sentences that are just loaded with technical vocabulary often don't communicate very well. Yeah,
I think that oftentimes, I'll read a person that quotes another author, and that author has technical language in it, and I walk away going, I understand why that quote is there, and I understand all of that technical language, but there's no interaction with the quote that tells me that the writer understood everything that was there and the technical language, which could leave an examiner reading the paper to go, do you actually know what you're talking about? And do you not understand the implications of what's just been said? I think that that's a really an important thing. I think oftentimes when I'm listening or when I'm reading a paper, and this once again I think goes back to some of the difficulty of this not being a sermon, is often in a sermon we don't feel the need to moderate our claims. We don't feel the need to make sure we hedge off some potential criticisms because it's a sermon. It's different.
Yeah.
In a theological essay, we need to be able to moderate our claims to the point of saying, I'm looking at this particular thing, and there might be implications for these things over here, but I'm not saying that I actually know what these things over here are doing. So So, for instance, you can make one could say like for with Bavinck, for instance, well, he uses the organic the language of organic and organism, and it's 19th century German philosophy. So we need to get rid of all of Bavinck's theology because it's because all of it is influenced by 19th century German philosophy. And you're like, well, okay, but.
You'd want a pretty long argument
Yeah.
to defend that claim.
Yeah, so
Or to defend that conclusion.
I mean, you need to write a PhD thesis.
Yeah.
So I mean, moderating your claim in it to make sure that you aren't claiming too much.
Yeah.
In a sermon, you can claim a lot more. In a theological essay, we need to be really careful about how much we're claiming.
Yeah, yeah. So that's the reason for keeping your focus tight, making the claims that you're making on that particular topic clear. And still, even on that, you can say it is likely that the best case is,
It appears.
That's right. Affirming position X and a position Y, we need to also say Z. That kind of nuanced sort of response, rather than wiping off X and Y and saying they're both wrong and this is the only true.
Yeah. I was just talking to somebody the other day that I said, maybe you could put in your footnote that it's possible that this person is inconsistent with that, because you aren't going to make that argument because you haven't done all the research to really know whether or not they're inconsistent, but there are implications of their argument that make it seem like they could be inconsistent.
So that's good. That shows you've been thinking about what you're reading.
And it keeps the examiner from saying, well, this person's inconsistent and you didn't even point that out.
Yeah.
Anything else that you can think of? Anything that you've run across recently?
Well, probably the other side of not using too much technical language is also don't become too informal.
Yeah.
There is a way of writing that's a kind of formal English essay style that you should be aiming for. It's not like just having a chat here.
Yeah. So we aren't going to write like, this is fair income in the midst of
Probably not.
Okay.
You're not anyway.
I remember the first time my wife used fair income, and I went, I'm sorry, what? So we won't use language like that in the midst of an essay.
Yeah, nice, simple sentences, not too flowery, but not too informal as well.
Excellent. Can you think of any other pitfalls, or is that it?
I think if you avoid all those pitfalls and do what we've suggested positively in the earlier videos, home and host.
Okay, then
which you won't use in the essay.
I don't even know what that means, but there you go. And I think that in the end, like, we can guarantee that students, if they do all of this, will at least get a pass.
Absolutely.